We played a clip of Donald Trump walking out of his limo as he's about to leave Washington after he's been indicted. And the first thing he does when he comes up to the microphone is he says, "This place is garbage. It's dirty, infested, like, Washington D.C. decrepit." Yeah. And
so much worse than when I was here.
I speculated at the time, like, this is part of the defense strategy. They're going to start to, and let's be clear, the defense strategy is ultimately, I must get elected president so that I can figure out a way of ending the appeal that would be on me in terms of the timing. Okay. I actually spoke to a former U.S. attorney the other day about this in terms of the timing, and he thinks it's going to go maybe pretty quick. And the real question is going to be whether Trump is allowed out on bail.
Wow.
But I'm more convinced that he will be let out on bail. With all that said, so that's the overriding strategy that Trump has, right? Where it's, I need to get elected. And part of that, which dovetails with his criminal defense strategy, which is really, again, his primary criminal defense strategy is get elected president and end this prosecution. He's going to claim, we said after that moment when he got in front of the microphone, because that was planned. Let's be clear. That wasn't just him shooting off the cuff. That they're going to argue he can't get a fair trial because there's too many black people in Washington, D.C., and the judge is a black woman. And, that was my sort of just speculation. And, ladies and gentlemen, 3 days later on Face the Nation, his attorney, 2 days later, had this to say.
I can tell you that in 40 years of practicing law, on a case of this magnitude, I've not known a single case to go to trial before 2 or 3 years.
Understood. Are you still going to pursue a change of venue?
Absolutely. We would like a diverse venue, a diverse jury.
Do you have any expectation that will be granted?
That reflects the characteristics of the American people. It's up to the judge. I think West Virginia would be an excellent venue to try this case.
Speaking of the
close
judge,
to D.C. and a much more diverse.
Understood. Speaking of the judge, earlier this week, your client, the former president.
First off,
follow up, please.
Speaking of arrested, Major Garrett should get arrested. Like,
Good
is
Lord.
it really irrelevant anything that your guest says because you've had your written out questions?
Yeah, why not just send him a questionnaire if you're not going to respond to anything?
It's so ridiculous.
I mean, what do you mean by diverse? What do you mean by diverse?
Understood,
is the
sir.
easiest follow up. Because clearly, if we're talking about racial diversity, West Virginia would not be the place to go, one of the whitest states in the country.
Well, what is it about West Virginia that is diverse? There's been a lot of things I've heard about West Virginia described. Never mind racial. One can only imagine. But a more diverse jury in one of, if not the, probably one of, definitely one of, the whitest states in the country.
Top 5, definitely.
And certainly one of the most sort of conservative states in the country as well. And it is just laughable. And frankly, they know they're not going to get this venue change. It's absurd. And because to acquiesce to their venue change, you're going to have to argue that there's something fundamentally un-American about the people who live in the capital city of the country.
There is something un-American about it in the fact that they really don't have any representation, but I don't think that's what they're referring to.
That's true. We want a change in venue to protest the failure of Congress to make them a state. But this is this is what we're going to hear. And it's just going to get worse. People should be, ready for this because this is literally an existential threat to Donald Trump as far as he's concerned. He needs to win the presidency to stay out of jail. That is what he is convinced of. No one could see into the future, but that is a reasonable conclusion for him to make.
He was already talking about preemptively pardoning himself, there were rumors that was being discussed before, obviously, he was forced out of office on January 20th.
Yeah, because nobody knows, like, if you could offer a preemptive pardon on what.
It's unprecedented.
And but this is existential for him. So it's going to start with this, but look at how it's ramped up in just 2 days. They're getting more and more explicit. If Major Garrett was not so tied to the questions in front of him, he might have said, "What makes West Virginia more diverse? Can you explain this to me?"
Yeah. And by the way, Trump has tried this before. If you recall, was it about the wall or was it about some of his other immigration policies? I forget. But there was a judge assigned who had Hispanic or what was
he was Mexican, yeah.
Well, no, he wasn't Mexican. I mean, his parents,
right.
he was of Mexican descent.
And it was litigation related to the wall, and he was saying how he couldn't get a fair trial in that case. Never mind the fact that the documents trial is an appointee of his, and she's clearly ruling in his favor and has before. That's not rigged at all.
It wasn't even the wall, which you would think because he attacked Judge Gonzalo Curiel, but that was over a Trump University San Diego fraud case.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Mexicans don't
Mexicans don't like fraud. Completely biased against fraud.
Everybody knows this.